Good evening, and welcome back to the One Celtic Fans View. Having looked at that game tonight, watching Celtic's opponents in the Champions League, how do I feel about them, and how do I feel about a certain striker that played for Slovan Bratislava? And I've got to say, if Celtic are still looking at Strelic, keep looking. As far as I'm concerned, he wasn't good enough for Celtic. Bratislava were poor, were really poor in the game. When you see the way that Celtic play, pace should be able to outdo both teams. Bratislava, they're not going to get through. They've got everything to do the second leg, and the way that they played tonight, they weren't in the game at all. When you look at Strelic, let's concentrate on him first of all. He did manage to get himself booked in the game, but other than that, he did absolutely nothing. Now, if people are going to moan about the 9 million for Adam Ida, they're going to moan about the 7 million for Strelic, and I don't think he was worth it. He did nothing in the game today, absolutely nothing at all. Slovan Bratislava were absolute garbage, to say the least. It looks like Celtic fans are going to have an 11-hour flight ahead of them for the Champions League game. But before we keep on going on about that, I want to talk about Marco Tilio. It looks like that he is still wanted by Vienna. Looks like they are still holding out to try and get a hold on Marco. There has been another name linked with Celtic, another winger. You remember we were after Jacob Brown from the Netherlands. We have been linked with another Brøndby winger. It's pure speculation at this point, and Celtic, I don't think even Celtic are fully 100% convinced in the players that they want. You never know, they might sign someone of fantastic quality, but until they do, I'm just going to leave the speculation. That's what it was. Let's talk about the Champions League game and the potential long journey for Celtic fans. You're looking at around about £500-600 for a return flight to Kazakhstan. That stadium, have I got the pictures of the stadium? Let me just do this. And we've got a picture of the stadium, and I've got to say, it was a decent little stadium. It'll be fun for the Celtic fans to go to. It's got a massive, absolutely huge, that was the scoreboard in the stadium. It's one of the biggest. I mean, it is a typical old Soviet style stadium, and I mean, that scoreboard is you could definitely see yourself on it. It's only 40p a pint, I've been told. In that country, Celtic did obviously play there a few years ago, and I think as a journey, there will be a certain amount of fans will go, because it's Celtic fans do. They'll travel in numbers, and they will head over to that game. And I say to the ones that do, fair play to them completely, because and this was the penalty. Now, there was a penalty in the game. I thought it was a bit was it a bit of a dive? I'm going to say one thing. That's the point. Is Rodgers' problem? Aaron seemed to move. No, Rodgers isn't the problem. Stop thinking Rodgers is the problem when it comes to transfers. Jesus, Rodgers has nothing to do with the transfers. He just gives them the list of players. Anyway, the teams tonight, and our warm-up game to the Champions League. The two teams that we could possibly face were playing tonight. It was settled by a penalty, and this was the penalty going in. But there was a late scrimmage. Was it a scrimmage, or was it just it was absolute bonkers towards the end of the game. We had to wait late on until the 89th minute to get the penalty. I was at the 80th, I can't remember, it was late on anyway. And then there was another goal, and I've got to say, it was a cracker of a goal, but it took them 4 minutes. It took VAR 4 minutes to decide if it was offside. If you think that the refs in Scotland are bad, and the The VAR in Scotland was bad. It took them 4 minutes I mean, I could see it was offside, but they were obviously going back certain passages of play, but it was offside, but it was a cracking goal. And the fact that they hit them on the break late on, you could see what they could try and do that to Celtic. They were very well defensive. They've narrowed the pitch down right against the strikers, and you've got to say Bratislava had nothing in return. Nothing. David Strelic, £7 million player. If Celtic are wanting him, I would say leave him there. For me, he did nothing. Absolutely nothing. Got himself booked. I can't even remember why he got booked, to be honest. He did absolutely nothing in the game. And if people think that they might have seen a few YouTube video clips of him, having watched a full 90 minutes with him playing tonight, I think that it would be money down the drain. If you think Adam Ida's a waste of money, and you're one of the ones that shout and scream about Adam Ida being a waste of money, Strelic's an even bigger waste of money. That's just my opinion. He offered nothing up front. His runs against a team, Celtic would put both these teams to bed easily. I would expect Celtic, when it does come to the first game in the Champions League, I expect Celtic to go out and win at least 4 or 5-0 in the home leg. Easily achievable. Easily achievable with both teams. I was hoping that Bratislava may pull a rabbit out the bag and do something, but the fact that that team from the old communist bloc, they pulled it out of the bag. It's as easy as that. There's nothing else you could say to it. It was one of the most boring games in boring 90 minutes that I had to sit and watch. Things that you've got to do for Celtic. But anyway, love the idea. 4 of our players not much money in the bank. Yeah. So our board thinks the same as yeah. I don't know. Just jumped on this. More than Strelic, but hell no. I didn't fancy him. I don't know, having watched him in the game today, I mean, I was excited at the prospect when we got linked to him, because he scored 3 goals in the Champions League last season. But if you can't turn it on against a team like this, and I've got to say the whole Slovan Bratislava team were woeful. They struggled to get out their own half. Strelic offered nothing up front, and there was no balls out to him or anything, but I just don't think that he's worth the money. And I will say it one more time, the fact that people go on about Adam Ida so much, I think that going for this guy would just be easily done to try and score. I'll tell you one thing, the goal that was disallowed was a fantastic piece of play, and it was a fantastic cross, and fair play to the old communist bloc team for doing what they did, because I thought they were up against. I thought they were maybe going to be up against it. Bratislava would show they were the better team, but they weren't. They were absolutely woeful, and it ended the way it did. It ended 1-0. It should have been 2-0 as far as I'm concerned. But 4 minutes of referee talking to. I'm just trying to change a screenshot here. Here's the one with Stadium. That one. And that gives you a better idea of the stadium. It is just a little single tier stadium, and it was on Camel.live TV. Anyway, Uncle Stuart's in the house. Do you think the Celtic would sign Hagi? No, not at all. I just think there's a lot of nonsense getting written about Celtic just now, and until Celtic haven't made an offer for anyone. We've been linked with another winger, but there's been no contact with the club. So it's all just speculation, and the speculation, to be honest, now is just getting out of control. But will Celtic bring in players before the 14th? That's the big question. They have until the 14th to bring in players that can be named in the Champions League squad for the qualification game, and then they have another 2 players that they can bring in up to 24 hours before the game. So that does give Celtic a little bit of leeway, and Celtic will think, you know what, we'll take it to the wire. Will Celtic wait until this fixture is finished and wait till Celtic have actually qualified. I'm starting to think that they will. I don't think that the Celtic board, having watched that game, Brendan Rodgers will have watched the game, and I've got to say, Yang would look good against this lot. Anybody with a bit of pace, will be a good asset in that game. Jamesy Forrest would come on and rip both the teams apart. There's nothing to worry about whatsoever. But when you look at the fixtures and you look at the fact that we have until the 14th, now that is the Thursday, to get the squad ready for the Champions League announcement for the game. We play Falkirk on the Friday. Are Celtic going to get any business done between now and next week? You would kind of hope so. Brendan Rodgers hopes so. You then have 2 players that you can bring in up to 24 hours before. So that takes us up to the 19th. I think that Celtic will then wait and spend big money after the 26th. And I think that they'll try and get a player in the week of the Rangers game. It's just a feeling I've got. The transfer window does shut on the 3rd of September, is it? I think, if I remember right. I'll just double check. It's 1st of September. It shuts on Monday the 1st of September, the transfer window. It's 7 o'clock at night, isn't it? So it's going to be an interesting one because there is games that will be getting played right up until Thursday the 28th. There's going to be Champions League games being played. So they're not closing the window on the Sunday night, the 31st, because there's still going to be business being done, and they fear that clubs will not be able to get paperwork put in place because of offices being closed on a Sunday, national offices being closed on a Sunday. So they've extended the window until the Monday or whatever it is. Anyway, let's jump into the comment section and see how you feel about that game tonight and what you think about. Tell you what, I've got to worry about Rangers qualifying. Well, they're not actually. I don't think they're going to qualify. There has been a bit of movement as well. I didn't send that to myself, did I? Fuck. 2 seconds. Can I go into my phone? Damn. Wait a minute. I wonder if I do this. Uploads file. No. Damn. I'll stick it up on the community tab. The possibility of Sevco playing in European football has diminished. It seems. It looks like they're heading for the Europa. According to one statistician, anyway, who cares about them? Looks like Celtic are going to get through. That's all I'm worried about. Is it a gamble that our board are taking? I think so, personally. But you've got to think the way the board are thinking. Is it worth spending out the money right now, or is it better to wait till we're guaranteed and then spend the money? I think we should be spending the money to guarantee that we'll get through, but Brendan Rodgers will look at both those teams tonight and think we should be able to beat them. And it's a simple fact as that. We should be able to beat them. Baz, time to grow a set of full head of hair. Ha ha ha. You're really funny, Michelle. I guess you're banned. Is it a gamble the board are taking? Let me just read through some more of these comments. Remember when 3 of his men went into London and came back with Jeffrey Sloop? Oh dear. We'll be in Tenerife and watch it in the Hoops Bar in Tenerife. You ready to do that? Some of the comments. Spend the money now, says Ian. Under that, it's a massive gamble, says Mikey Boy, but they've done it before, no surprise. Yeah, is it any shock that Celtic are going to do that and are going to wait until we qualify for the Champions League? I mean, you can understand from our point of view, you just want to get signings in, done and dusted. But to be fair, anybody that watched that game tonight, you're not worried about it, that team. The fact that they would make Yang look good. Now, the only concern that I do have is that the Kazakhstan team are well versed defendedly. You know, they're set up, their back four. Their back four playing a solid back four. They do reduce the size of the pitch quite compact around the attackers, which made it very, very difficult for Slovan Bratislava. Strelic really had no room at all. He wasn't making room for himself, to be fair. He wasn't. His runs were woeful. He was running into people. I didn't rate him at all as a striker. But them on the break, the midfield is where the battle's going to be won for that game. If Celtic play a holding two, if Celtic play a holding two in the midfield, as did, I'm going to say it, Slovan Bratislava played 4-2-3-1 formation. Celtic will need to play 4-2-3-1 formation, but you'll need to dominate the midfield. Slovan Bratislava today didn't dominate the midfield. They were quick and closing. They were getting closed down quick, really quick. Players were doubling up on them. Celtic will need to get the fast attacking move, one-touch pass. If we play the normal one-touch pass football that we can play against either team, we'll get through. If no pre-season Champions League squad, then it's a failure. Is it a failure? Failure. I don't think it's a failure. I just think it's the board being very prudent. And sometimes you could be over prudent. And sometimes that players, managers will want players in. And I think that the issue that we've got, and it's been well spoken about, I think the issue is that Celtic are unprepared to pay top dollar for players this window. There's no guarantees in life, especially in football. If the board don't invest, we stand to lose out on the Champions League money. Adam Ida played better when Paulo Bernardo started. I've said that before. Paulo Bernardo is better in midfield, mate. I think that Paulo Bernardo should start more games than what he does. But with that being said, I think Rio Hatate is on fire just now. I think that if Rio Hatate is not in the if Rio Hatate is in the form that he was in for half the season last season, you play Paulo Bernardo. But Rio Hatate has got a wee spring in his step this season. Early on, yes, I know we've only played one game of the season, but if you look at pre-season, you're thinking Rio Hatate's got something about him. Now, whether Rio Hatate's been told, look, you're not going to get sold this summer, simple as that, we're not selling you, you've got 3 years left on your contract, go out and be the big player for Celtic this year. Do you know, go out and do what Matt O'Reilly did a couple of seasons ago. Go out and do what Daisen Maeda did last season. Prove that you're the best player on the park, and then you'll get your big move. And I think that's what Rio Hatate is. He's had that little bit of a talking to from someone, and Rio Hatate right now is the player to watch for Celtic, because his movement is absolutely phenomenal compared to what it was this time last year. Now, I'm only putting it in comparison to this time last year. Other people might think completely different. So tell me in the comments. Anyway, there is no guarantees in life. Salzburg got a 17-year-old, so who cares? Shows a small-mindedness. This shows the small-mindedness of our board. Champions League qualifiers, we should come in strengthening the team and getting the best out of the players we can, and getting the players we can afford is the only right decision. You don't need to tell me that, Eddie. I think that Celtic need to go out and bring in the best players possible for the manager. Now, whether listen, Brendan Rodgers came out and said, I'm obviously not doing a good enough job of convincing the board of the players we need. Now, there's obviously been some kind of list given to the board, and Sugarman hopes that the Slovan makes it through. Slovan Bratislava are not going to make it through. Not after watching that game tonight. I think that Celtic fans, if you go to the away games, get ready for an extended trip, because Slovan Bratislava, I don't think, will make it through. 1-0 down. The media, anybody that watched that game for 90 minutes will tell you that if the game goes the same way the second leg, Slovan Bratislava are out. Slovan Bratislava did nothing for me today to think that they can win the second leg convincingly. And that's just an honest opinion. They were absolutely woeful. Absolutely woeful. It should have been 2-0. For me, I mean, it was just, the guy was a fraction offside late on, but they were ripped apart so many times. The Slovak Bratislava players did not look in the mood. There was something about them. They looked off. You know, the Kazakhstan team, they looked up for it. And I think that they'll go into the second leg thinking we can take this team easily. And they can. They can. So, anyone that thinks that they're going to get a nice, easy trip, and will Celtic come to rue the thought of not postponing the Livingston game, because maybe they thought that Bratislava would get through. But Midnight Caller says that he watched the game. It was a poor game. It was a poor game. It was a really poor game. But do you think that after watching it, Midnight Caller, do you think that Bratislava will get through? Give your honest opinion. The final score was 1-0. It should have been 2-0. It should have been more than, actually. I'll tell you one thing. The Slovan Bratislava keeper saved them. Saved them a lot. Let's hope we get Slovan then. You're not going to get them. Honestly. If I'm a betting man, I think I'm not betting on Slovan Bratislava. Put it that way. There's no way I'm betting on Slovan Bratislava, because they're absolutely rank rotten, and they did nothing in the game today. Their keeper, the first half, the best player on the pitch was the Slovan Bratislava keeper, because the saves that he did kept it at 0-0 the first half. He had 4 decent saves the first half that kept the score down. And I thought, do you know what? It was a matter of time in the second half. You could see it coming. A 9-hour journey. Bratislava's 2.5. It's 11 hours. I looked at flight times when I did the live earlier. It doesn't matter who you would rather have. It's the reality of who's going to get through. And as it stands, Slovan Bratislava will not get through the next round. And I think that Celtic could come back to haunt Celtic in the fact that they have not postponed the Livingston game, because they're going to have a hell of a journey. When you look at it, we play the Saturday at Celtic Park. We then play on the Tuesday in the Champions League. Okay, it's a 9 o'clock at night kick-off time, Central European time. I don't know if that's local or Central European. That'll be Central European time. It'll kick off at 9 o'clock at night, which will be 8 o'clock back home. And then it will be, if it's that kind of journey, Celtic are going to have to travel out on the Sunday, so that they get Monday as a kind of rest day to be able to train on the pitch, because there's no way are Celtic going to do that journey. And will Celtic be able to hire a plane? Because anyone else that does, if we're doing it, you're going to have to go via Turkey. You're going to have to get 2 flights. One to Turkey, Glasgow to Turkey, and then Turkey over to Kazakhstan. Now, will Celtic hire a private jet to take them over all the way? You would think so. But even then, it's like a 9-hour flight. And that would take it out the players. travelling all that time. It's only 7,000 miles. Only. Maybe but not postpone the Livingston game is the only mistake the board makes. Well, let's hope it is it's not the only board. Yeah. Home or away is just disregard. It's a home and away. If it's home, it's a home and away game. Get Desmond private jet for the boys. I don't think it's big enough for the whole squad and the whole team. That's the issue. I don't think that you're going to have to hire a bigger jet. We travel to Ibrox and that takes it out of the players. It does. It's a difficult one for Celtic. Celtic have put them in a little bit of a scenario. Flight via Nepal, a few days on the beers. The way that I looked at it yesterday, who's that? I just got a notification. Someone. Who's this? Someone's left Celtic. Managing director. Maybe 2 seconds. Craig D. Celtic. I'm going to do a little bit of search. No. Who's this guy? It's a guy that after nearly Craig D, managing director. After nearly 20 years at Celtic FC, my time has come in the season. I made the decision to step away at the conclusion of last season with my office leaving date the end of July. Now with the new season about to kick off, it feels like the right moment to say goodbye and wish nothing but success to the team, the management I left by. Celtic has been my job, my family, so proud to have built the club analysis provision over something stronger, more advanced and better resource when I started. So there's a guy left Celtic, and it's not got his full name. It's just got Craig D. But Neil Lennon has said, "Well done, Craig. You were a fantastic colleague at Celtic. Good luck." Interesting. There's been someone leave Celtic after 20 years. Celtic haven't announced anything. Or have they? What's his roles? He's now working at Exceed. Managing director at Exceed. He was the head of analysis and technical operations at Celtic. He was also the first team scout. This is an interesting one. So the head of analysis and technical operations at Celtic has resigned. My position was specifically created by Brendan Rodgers, who felt necessary to recognise a more official capacity in the wider scopes of responsibility I had resumed over the course of proceeding. This was a significant change in the organisational structure related to Celtic analysis setup. Interesting that he's decided to leave Celtic. So the head of analysis and technical operations, before that, it was senior first team scouting analysis. It was a first team performance analysis also. So this is a pretty big one when it comes to scouting at Celtic. This is a pretty big one. So he's obviously left Celtic at the end of July. He was at Celtic for 17 years and 1 month. He was at Celtic for 20 years in total, he said. Management of analysis, setup and development team for the youth academy. Creation of all first team pre-match and post-match documentation. Creation of game idea document. Pre-season presentations for the manager, football department. This was a pretty top guy at Celtic. And Celtic haven't... Just check the Celtic website. They've not announced anybody leaving, have they? Check the site. News. Nope. Nothing. So I know it's more to do with the team, but you would think in the news section of the site they would... this is an interesting one. I don't think he's been replaced by AI. Well, something today, it was an important... Neil Lennon has congratulated him and thanked him for everything that he'd done with helping him with his time at Celtic. So the fact that Neil Lennon's went on to LinkedIn and commented on this post. Neil Lennon says, "Well done, Craig. You were fantastic. You were a fantastic colleague at Celtic. Good luck." He's well known within the game. See, there's a lot of things going on at the club behind the scene that we've no idea of. And there's a lot of other clubs and other people that are in the analysis side of the game congratulating him. Said, "Congratulations on all you achieved at Celtic. You're part of the fabric of the club, and I'm sure you'll be sorely missed." There you go. Interesting one. I mean, there is a big football department at Celtic that people that you have no idea of, and the fact that this guy's been there for nearly 20 years, and he was put in a position. The position was actually made and put in place by the current manager. Interesting. Just shows you. Anyway, we digress. Hopefully Quinny gets an interview. Right, that is me done and dusted for this evening. Been on for half an hour. It's more than long enough. I wish DD would sell up and go. Why? I think that it's... I've no idea, Stephen. No idea how old he was. Behind the scenes is just a shambles. Is it? Well, we don't know, is it? maybe he's just retired now. He's too young to retire. Well known to whom? Sligo boy. Go into LinkedIn and check him out for yourself. Do a bit of digging yourself. The fact that he was in position at Celtic for so long. Do you know, there's people at the club that we have no idea what they do. Anyway, on that note, have an absolutely fantastic evening, Celtic fans, wherever you are, all around the world.